What's going on, everybody? Icosiel here, and if you're wondering why on the thumbnail I had the Infinity Gauntlet, the reason being is because I hate layering, and if I could just snap it out of existence, I would. And the reason why this subject is coming up is because about a week ago, Blizzard started asking about bringing back temporarily layering for some of the queue issues that are going on right now. The question specifically that they asked is if your realm was experiencing 1 hour or longer queues during peak play times every day, would you want your realm temporarily increased to 2 layers to shorten the queue? How do you think that would change your game experience? So I am totally against layering. However, I did understand when Classic WoW first came out, just the absolute influx of people going onto the servers. I could see the necessity. I got that, and I think it did actually help out. And so now they're kind of coming back and they're saying, hey, what about if we temporarily did it? So, okay, your server is over an hour-long queue, and so temporarily they go ahead and do layering. Layering has a lot of issues, and whereas the layering was supposed to be, when Classic first started, was supposed to be for the starter zones. I think it was up to like level 20 or something, and then they were like, okay, no more. I think it actually went a little bit further in that, but this is going to be server wide layering, and that is going to cause a lot of issues. Layering has the problem of, if world bosses are out, or Black Lotus farming and all that kind of stuff. Now, some people are saying that, hey, this is actually going to be a good thing because it's going to lower the price of the Black Lotus, because who the hell wants to pay 200 gold for a Black Lotus? And, you've got all these, you got people on the servers who really have cornered that market, and that's why everything's up to 200 gold. And so if more people could get it, then the prices would drop. And I don't think that's actually the case. I think people will take advantage of it. The people who are always farming it, the guilds that are always farming it, they're going to take advantage of the situation. If you think that the price of 200 gold is going to go lower for the Black Lotus, I think you're kidding yourselves. I think it's just going to allow them to farm up even more and keep that price even higher. So that's just my initial issue with it. I totally get not wanting the queues. I hate queues. The queues just now got to my server, but they're only like 5 or 10 minutes. I heard 15 minutes was the most. But yeah, we hate queues, but I don't think that a temporary fix with layering is really gonna solve the issue in the long term. I think a lot of it is actually going to fix itself when people start going back to work. There's the time of making this, there's 17 million people that are now in America filed for unemployment. So that's a lot of potential players, and you could see how the population of the servers was on the rise ever since the stay-at-home orders started happening, going into effect. So when people start going back to work after this whole coronavirus thing is over, it's going to kind of take care of itself. And so I see that that's why Blizzard is saying, okay, temporarily, because I think even they recognize, okay, once people start going back to work, this isn't going to be as big of an issue. However, some servers, they have not, they've always had a queue, and that's like the real big servers. I don't think they've had. I think Faralina has had a queue every once in a while, not always. But how did we get here? How did we get to this situation with now all of a sudden having to come back to, okay, are we going to need layering? It really all started from the beginning, and it's not the layering, it's how Blizzard started off with like, okay, here's a few servers, and then everybody's like, okay, make our characters on this server, and then whoa, there's a whole bunch of people. Now we gotta, here's like 3 more servers, and then 3 more servers, and then 5 more servers. And so then when it got to the launch day, all of a sudden it became, well, what server can we actually play on right now? You add that on top of the fact that there are way more Horde players now, and which is kind of funny because back in Vanilla 2004, there were more Alliance players. Now Classic is more Horde players. And so you put all those things together and you kind of have the situation that we're in right now. Blizzard had a very hands-off approach to it, which in some ways was a good thing. In other ways, it was a bad thing. Like if you look at the server populations here, this is from what is that? Ironforge server population. Just Google that and you'll find this. This kind of takes a snapshot of where the servers are currently standing. Obviously, you can see a lot more of them are more Horde. More Horde players are there. There's only a few, like Pagel and Grobulus has more Alliance. In general, most of these are looking not so bad. Obviously, the goal is 50-50, right? We would, in a perfect world, we would love a 50-50 balance. But we're not in a perfect world. And so I think you need to be looking at it, you want it to be about 40-60. Not like that's, you want that window 40-60. You don't want to go beyond that, and that's where it starts to, okay, now people really want to start jumping ship. But take a look at like Scarum here, 2% are Alliance, and there's another one here, Heartseeker, 93.9% Alliance, Stalag, 98.8% Horde. It's like, how did that happen? And that was from all the free transfers that were going on. And the free transfers happened, and people made decisions, and it's gone absolutely awry for some of these servers. Some of these servers, man, like a Stalag PvP, that's not a PvP realm, that's a PvE realm. You know, these people have signed up for PvP and they're not getting it. I mean, even Westfall, 77.9% Alliance. That's way out of whack. So I say the realistic goal is to get somewhere between 40 and 60%, right? So how are we going to get there? How is that going to happen? I think the only way that is going to happen at this point is you're going to have transfers, but Blizzard is going to have to take a very hands-on approach to how it's done. Instead of saying that, okay, if you want to come off of, I don't know, we'll pick a server. If you want to come off of Scarum, just anybody can go. And you can go to these 4 servers. I would think that you can go to any server, but if the balance is all Horde, you want the Horde to come off. But you also have to incentivize Alliance to come over. And that's the trick. How do we incentivize players to go from one realm to another? Take a look at Rattlegore, 37.7% Alliance, 62.3% Horde. How do we get more Alliance over to Rattlegore? I think that is the question. How do we get more Alliance players over there? I think on retail for a number of years now, I think Blizzard has actually done something where the servers still exist, but the people logging in on this server are actually kind of going to this server. It's like they kind of blend the servers together. So maybe this server here had more Alliance players, and this one had more Horde, and so they kind of blend them together. But when these people log on, they think they're on this server, and these people are like, okay, we're on this server, but actually they're kind of like blended into each other onto one. It's when I say hands-on approach, I'm talking that kind of stuff is what Blizzard is going to have to do. I don't recall Blizzard ever dissolving a server and just saying, hey, now you guys are on here. And I think it's because they're able to do that. But a lot of people would not like that. Like, there's some people that would love to be playing Horde on a 98% Horde server. There are those players out there, so you don't want to piss all of them off, right? So those are the two questions. How do we incentivize people of a certain faction to transfer over to the server that we want them to go? And two, Blizzard has to be hands-on. How hands-on do they have to be to get this going in the right direction? You gotta allow players to make choices for themselves. They have to feel like they're the ones making the choice. The moment Blizzard starts to come in and say, you're all doing this, this is what's going to happen, and this is where you're going, that's what's going to cause problems. That's what's going to cause a lot of frustrations. So we got to think of ways of how we're going to incentivize and also keep player choice in there. So again, I think the way you do that is, well, actually, I'm not exactly sure how you incentivize people. Some of the private servers are doing some things, and then Def Camp and Melderon, they brought up in one of their recent videos, they brought up giving 3 months playtime or something if you're Alliance and you go to this server. But is that fair to Horde players on those servers? It'll be fair to some Horde players on servers that are overbalanced with Alliance. So, I mean, we really have to think about that. And that's where I'd like the discussion to go is how do we incentivize people? And then Blizzard, you got to be hands-on with this. You've got to better look at the situation and go, what servers are we targeting? And do we want, if there's less Alliance here, if there's only 30% Alliance here, how do we get them to stay there, get more Alliance to come over there, and then have some of the Horde transfer off so we can get a little closer to a 40-60 to 50-50 balance? So that's the struggle. That's a hard thing to figure out. And honestly, I don't think the community is really helpful in that kind of circumstance that we're in. I think we kind of all put ourselves into this circumstance that we're in right now. So those are the questions that I'm trying to figure out. Hopefully we can discuss a little bit more and try and figure it out ourselves and revisit this, and we'll see what Blizzard wants to do. Temporary fix with layers, I'm not too big a fan, but I understand. But I certainly don't want layering to come back as like, hey, this is the way it's going to be, and we're just going to leave it. Nah, I would love to finger snap that thing out of here. So anyways, let me know your thoughts. How do you think we should incentivize people to transfer to the servers we want? And how hands-on would you like to see Blizzard actually be? So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe, and click on the bell to be notified of new content I create, or click on any of these links here. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.